Hello and welcome. I need a volunteer to draw something. Anything you like, you have a couple of minutes. Anything that makes you happy.
Okay, you're with me.
I will need it in 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay.
So thank you to ISSI and Como House for providing the venue. I have 4 main points. The project, first one is supporting the aims of this Illuminate Series. The project aims to promote the use of heritage trades in the Australian workforce to sustain our traditional skills and our ability to conserve our history. Let's dissect this statement. Promote the use of heritage trades. What are heritage trades? Who was involved in constructing this room? Carpenters, plasterers. These were workers just doing their jobs, using the materials available to them. And now, should we be using what is available to us? Time and experience tells us we cannot use our modern techniques and materials to conserve these buildings. Who can call themselves a heritage trade person? There is no formal recognition of this status. Sustain our traditional skills. What are traditional skills? When I came here to do work, I will have a van load of batteries and 200-volt gadgets. How can we sustain our traditional skills and then conserve our history? Why? Local ABC radio this morning had a story about a Chanel theatre at the UQ. They want to demolish it as part of a master plan. So they had people ring up and relate their stories connecting the Chanel theatre. But I'll come to that. Did you finish?
Yes.
This is nice.
Yes.
What is it?
It's a house and 2 trees.
Okay, so imagine this destruction on a big scale. Such as a building that hundreds of people put their blood, sweat and tears into for little money and worse conditions. The title of my talk today is Respecting the Efforts of the Past, Don't Waste a Resource. This is what motivates my involvement with older buildings. Respect for the workmanship. They're built to last, built to function, built to provide. No cars, no machinery, no air conditioning. Respect for their efforts. Let's look at the resources in this room. The bricks, the brick walls. Someone had to collect the clay, and they sell the clay, and they put it in a hand, the timber mould, and they put it in the kiln. There's a lot of effort. The timber from the forest, cut down, the lime, hand slaked from the quarry, split, slaked, mixed, applied. Demolish this building and it goes into the ground, never to be seen again. Now that seems to be a waste. So what is plastering? Plaster work is decoration and a barrier to the elements. In Jordan around 7,500 BC, lime and aggregate was mixed and applied to stone walls. There is lime and aggregate on these walls. The Egyptian pyramids have lime and gypsum coats. The Roman Empire produced highly decorative work. But on the Charters Towers. In 1872, gold was discovered in Charters Towers. So Charters Towers is 140 kilometres west of Townsville. The building has been renamed in the early 19th century. But where did the plasterers come from? A local historian records that there's 3 plasterers listed in this area at the time. but this was a boom time. Gold was discovered in Charters Towers in 1872. This building was built 1891. They had a timber building initially, but they saw the prospect of the gold lasting for a long time, so they needed a bigger, stronger building. So masonry came along. But who had the skills? In 1891, so it is on the State Heritage Register. We know the architect, Stanley Francis Drummond, Rebel. So at this time we can see other grand buildings in Charters Towers. So gold was discovered in 1872. So this is the building that was just in the previous photo here. It peaked in 1899. So in 1891, they obviously thought there was good prospects. The town was going to develop. At this stage, it was the second largest city in Queensland after Brisbane. It's now 8,000 people. It was 30,000. So the train line was developed from Townsville to Charters Towers. Unfortunately, the peak was 1899, and then in 1917 they decided that the gold was too deep and that they couldn't continue. So the town had to rediscover a new economy, and they used the old buildings for boarding schools, which is still there. So what were their methods? I have props. So this is a masonry building that we see here. So is this one. So plaster we're talking about, it's a mix of materials basically applied internally or externally for different reasons. Externally maybe as a barrier, a weathering. Internally because we want decoration, or we want clean, smooth walls that we can easily scrub off marks. But so here you have a brick, handmade brick, and here is on the outside a moulding from 1862 Roma Street train station. So basically we have our brick, our building units, thousands of them, and then on the outside is applied a mix of sand and lime, traditionally early on. Cement was later introduced. This has cement in it, but this is a decoration and a barrier. So this is basically plastering. Applying a coat on the outside or inside over the brick elements to protect the brick. Because of the plastic nature of the material, it can be manipulated to a design or shape before it sets. During the centuries, many different forms developed around the world, but in Europe, the Renaissance rediscovered and created new techniques. Scagliola is imitation marble with gypsum and pigments. Marmorino, a 15th century exterior finish, still be seen today in Venice. Sgraffito, different applications with different colours. Artisans travelled the world with their skills. Little of these techniques feature in Australia. We progress on, and in relation to what we have presented in Charters Towers and in this room, these are techniques developed in the 16th century. You start with a design. So the architect thought we need a bigger, grander building. So then you need the labour force, the bricks, the timbers. This is all a lot of preparation. So a design, and then in the plastering context, because this is an Illuminate Series, I brought a torch. So you can see all these features, all these elements incorporated here. So this is all 16th century technique. Not much has changed. but each element is moulded first of all. So you might start with a little rosette. So someone makes that initially. So a modeller. So you make it either from timber, clay, beeswax. I'm talking 300 or 400 years ago, of course, here. And then I want 1,000 of those. So how do I produce 1,000? And then technology came and plaster of Paris was developed, and so you can make a reverse mould of this thing. Today we use silicon and plaster of Paris. So I can produce from that as many as I like. Such as along, the eggs here and these features along here. So you cast them and produce hundreds of them. So there's the modelling, the reverse mould, the application of finishes, but to underline all this is the materials. So lime, we've heard, was used in Jordan, BC times. So lime is a binder, basically. So plaster is you're incorporating two binders and an aggregate. A binder and an aggregate. So limestone, is put in a kiln. I'm not sure where it was sourced from Melbourne here. I know it's someone at the back of the room that probably would. Yes. So we'll ask him later. And so you take lime from the quarry, you put it in a kiln, heat it to 900 degrees, and it's known as quicklime. Then you take that and you slake it, add water, and it bubbles and boils within, it reacts very quickly. And then you add your aggregate, and then it absorbs carbon from the atmosphere, so it goes back to its original state, near enough, of limestone. So there's large amounts of lime required even just for this room. So it's lime and your aggregate. So it's over the brick, but on the ceiling there's obviously no brick ceiling here, so there'll be little timber laths here, split, and then the plaster is pushed through these laths. So you can see the thickness approximately and these ribs, but these should have a little key on them. And so you've got all these strips of timber in this ceiling, nailed to the joist, and then you push your sand and lime up through it. Now this is reinforced with hair. This is 1862, Roma Street train station, and there's 3 layers here. So the first layer has the hair, you push it up through, and then the second layer you're sort of straightening, and then the third layer is very thin, but it gives you this nice smooth finish in which you can add colour or decoration. So thank you. So the ambitions of my fellowship. Thank you to Eddie Dunn Endowment for the opportunity to broaden and share my knowledge. The aim is to compile international best practice training material for restoration in Australia and initiate a community program for maintaining Australia's older buildings. Basically, I will examine maintenance and education programs. 4 main targets. Villa Fabri, that's in Tiene in Italy. So Villa Fabri was set up by the European Union, the European Council and UNESCO to basically restore Venice. They realised that they had the shortage of skills, and so in the 1970s they established a school, and now they invite students from around the world to study 5 basic materials. So the plaster, the wood, the paint, the stone and the metal. It's the leading school in Europe. It has the best teachers, and so they have the best resources. So I hope to visit there and take some of that knowledge. I've studied there before and been there on other occasions, so I'll be using my networks there to discover how they do it. How do they encourage people. It's easy for Venice. Now, it's well resourced, but they still have problems. The Building Limes Forum is another organisation I've been a member of for quite some time, since 2005. So they conduct workshops, they have seminars, they have an annual conference, so they're quite a strong organisation based in Europe in which want to educate people on the use of building limes. SPAB, which is the Society for the Protection of Ancient Buildings, they have a maintenance week. So every year they promote and engage communities to look after their buildings. So it's an education program. The peak of the day is gutter day. So gutters are a big problem. It's simple maintenance, yes, there's lots of laughter, but it's simple maintenance, yes, and that can help. The idea is prevention rather than the cure. Make people aware of the simple maintenance, the drainage issue, the blocked gutter, and you won't have your ceiling collapse on your vehicle. Then there's the German trade schools I hope to visit. Currently during an apprenticeship now, no subjects at college address the traditional skills. From little things, big things grow. We introduce a subject or two on traditional plastering into these TAFE courses? In plastering it may be easier because the division between the old and the new has become clear. Traditionally it was just one trade, plastering. But now modern demands has now split into three. There's solid plastering, which they call rendering now, which is just modern acrylic materials. And then there's gyprock plastering, putting up the drywall sheets. Guess what? I've never done that, never want to. And then there's fibrous plastering. So fibrous would produce these ceiling roses, but in a modern fibrous, using fiberglass, using plaster of Paris techniques. So the trade now has even been divided into these specialised areas through demand. So how am I going to disseminate this information? Well, local colleges, I've been to local colleges like Murwillumbah and done building with lime courses. TAFE, can I talk to the students? Workshops, been lucky enough to go to Yangon 4 times and teach local masons on restoring their buildings. And there's one other organisation, back to this, I suppose I should do. So back to that building there, yes, so this is the project I worked on recently, and so lightning struck it for the 2nd or 3rd time. So it struck the top, I think, and it came out here. Here is actually the burn mark. So now complete, but we try to retain, that's the important part, we want to try to retain as much of the original fabric, such as these areas. One, because it's easier, we've got a guide, but you want to match the materials, this is the important part. But so this is all work of the plasterer. You can see mouldings and dental blocks and mullions and the finial. This is all done by hand. And it's at least in relief of 4 inches. There's no casting. It's all different measurements, you know, from here to here. So the local historian said there was 3 plasterers in the area, and 2 were from Ireland and 1 was from Germany. So whether they worked on the building, but when these were constructed, the same as Ballarat, the gold boom, where did all these workers come from? Who had the skills in that time? And so I think they travelled. They came from wherever, Sydney, Melbourne, and had a project and packed up their sugar bag. There's an old saying that there's sugar bag there. I don't have those answers where they came from, but we can assume that the skills came from Europe. So, on to the Longfin Academy. So this is an opportunity to educate broadly. So Longfin, it's run by the APT, and it's based in Longfin in Tasmania, and at Walmers and Brickerton estates, so World Heritage sites. So I guess the idea, there's two members here of the committee, Ray Wiltshire and David Young down the back are very much involved. So if you want to talk to them more about it in the Longfin, it's the 10th year next year. But it's an opportunity to work on World Heritage sites. So, and in this amazing setting between the Western Tiers and Ben Lamont. So it's a week long. Obviously one just finished this year, last week, or 2 weeks ago, whatever. But it's an opportunity to get to work on 1819 structures from 1819, where you can get your hands dirty. So it's a combination of the theory and the practice. And so this is something that I'd like to be involved in more because I believe in it. I believe in the techniques, and it's exposure to the best practitioners in the country as well. There's my little plug, and I guess I'm going to wrap up. Thank you.